Everybody, the Lord wants me to remind you that He is a strategic God. He's a God of strategy, and He wants us to be His people of strategy as well. He wants us to walk in such a way that we are mirroring His strategic behaviors. Joshua chapter 8, verse 15 to 16, and then Ruth 4, 1 to 2, and then James 3, 17. Your homework today is Joshua chapter 8 and Ruth chapter 4. Two specific areas that the Lord wants us to mirror His strategic behavior is in battle and in blessing. There is a strategy from the Lord in battle, and that's something that if anybody's spent any time in the Word and any period of time in their relationship with God, they'll understand that God is very strategic when it comes to battling in the supernatural realm. And so Joshua chapter 8, verse 15 and 16 says, "And Joshua and all Israel made as if they were beaten before them, and fled by the way of the wilderness. So all the people who were in Ai were all called together to pursue them. And they pursued Joshua, and they were drawn away from the city." So that you can see the strategy of the Lord for the people of Israel to pretend like they were afraid of Ai, and they ran away from them. Well, that caused the people of Ai, and the Bible says Bethel in the story, to pursue them. And they pursued Joshua and were drawn away from the city. See, the whole purpose was not to fight, but to draw them away from where God would give Joshua and the nation of Israel victory. And that's where God's strategic behavior comes in. Many times the Lord has called us to be in the same way. Sometimes we're so focused on the fight and the battle, and those do happen. We don't ignore that. But many times the victory is not in how well you fought, but where you positioned yourself to experience the victory. And that's exactly what Joshua was doing. He was doing it out of obedience. Again, I encourage you to read Joshua chapter 8. The next strategic behavior of the Lord that He would have us mirror is being strategic in blessing. Ruth chapter 4, verse 1 and 2 says, "Now Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there. And behold, the close relative of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, 'Come aside, friend, sit down here.' So he came aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, 'Sit down here.' So they sat down. So Boaz went up in the gate of the city." It's a very predominant, it's where they made all the decisions for the people of that area. He waited for that close relative. Well, that close relative, as you see in the story, had the rightful call to receive the blessings that came with Naomi and the land from her husband and her sons. And so he would have the first right of refusal, basically. And Boaz knew that. He wasn't manipulating. He was being strategic. He says, "Okay, it's yours if you want it. But if you don't want it, it's going to be mine." And he was doing that because he loved Ruth. And he knew that God had blessed him with this circumstance. So he was being strategic in his blessing. So he went up and he sat down in the gate. And he waited for that close relative to walk by because he knew he would come by. And he asked him to come and sit down. And then the Bible says, then Boaz took 10 witnesses. See, Boaz was not ignoring it or trying to get the close relative to forget his blessing, but to remind him so that Boaz would be blessed. See the strategy of blessing that the Lord did here in this story? He wants us to do the same thing when it comes to blessing. The next thing, what God's strategy looks like. James 3:17, "But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy." If we're manipulating a situation in battle or blessing, it doesn't look like this. But if we're mirroring God's way of being strategic, you will see this character in that strategy. God bless you. Have a great day.